Welcome to the Fit Dad Nation podcast, forging strong fathers and raising a stronger generation. It's time to get up or shut up with your host, Steve Roy.
Hey guys, this is Steve Roy, host of the Fit Dad Nation podcast. Welcome to the show. I appreciate you listening. Briefly want to talk about what we are up to in the Fit Dad Nation. So if you're not part of our community online, I definitely encourage you to join. So we have a couple different groups. Probably our most active platform is Facebook, even though I literally hate Facebook, but so many people are on it, and so it kind of makes sense to use it. So our public page is the Fit Dad Nation. You can find it there. That's not as quite as active as our private group. We have a free private group. It's got about 700 and some change dads in there, called the Fit Dad Base Camp. You can just Google that or search it in Facebook and find that. Apply to the group. And we've also got our private membership program called the Fit Dad Nation Inner Circle. That is our paid program where we do a ton of stuff in there. Right now, we just actually started a brand new challenge. We called it Die Hard December. Obviously, after the movie Die Hard, which some people will say is a Christmas movie. I personally don't call it a Christmas movie. I'm more of a Home Alone person, but anyway, that's just me. So I'll draw some links in the show notes if you care to check those groups out. With December here, I thought it was fitting to record a show on resolutions and specifically why they fail. So you guys have probably heard the stats, or you've heard someone talk about it. Most resolutions, or people that set resolutions don't stick with them. So I want to talk about why that is. So I'm not a big fan of resolutions right off the bat. Some people like them, some people don't. I'm not a fan. In my opinion, if you have a goal or you want something, why would you wait until the start of a month, right? Why would you wait, now? So this is the biggest time of the year for what I do, the fitness industry, right? Everybody's trying to make changes. I think I read like 55% of all resolutions are health-based. So that, that bodes well for guys like me in this business. So many people wait. Well, I'm just going to eat like a fucking slob for November and December. And then when January 1st rolls around, I'm going to get my act together. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start cleaning up my eating. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and lose weight, right? It doesn't usually work out that way, right? So according to the stats, and I read a couple different articles, it's the internet, so who knows how accurate all this information is. But from what I understand, it says about 8% of people keep their resolutions for the whole year, okay? And again, 55%, they're all health-based. And then 80% of people who join a gym at the start of the year quit within 5 months. So, there's specific reasons for this, obviously. And so I read something. This is from a psychology professor who said there's something called false hope syndrome. So what this means is the resolution that they make, it's unrealistic and out of alignment with their view of themselves. And if you think about that, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you're living a certain lifestyle, you're living a certain life, you have a certain set of beliefs your whole life, or most of it, your adult life, let's say. Come January 1st, how are you going to change that? Right, it's just not that simple. You can't just snap your fingers and change all of that. And I'm going to get to more about this in a minute. But, at the end of the day, seriously, a new year, it's just a new year, right? That's all it is. There's nothing special. It's just an arbitrary day that we give a lot of power to, which to me, doesn't make a lot of sense. So resolutions are nothing more than, wanting to change your habits, right? It comes down to habits, changing your habits, whether it's to lose weight, stop smoking, stop drinking, handling your finances, relationship goals, whatever it is, right? But, when it comes down to habits, again, this is not something where you snap your fingers and say, okay, well, today, my life is completely changed, and I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? Because when that happens, all you're using, and this is the case from what I've read for most resolutions, it comes down to sheer willpower, right? So let's take for an example someone that's been overweight for a number of years, sedentary, eating, let's take a typical dad that's been struggling for years, right? Doesn't have a lot of muscle, carrying about 30 or 40 extra pounds, doesn't feel great. Diet is the average American diet, which is shit. You take that person and let's call him Chris. I have a lot of Chris's in our group for some reason. It must be a popular name in that era, back in the, I guess probably mid-70s. But so Christopher here decides that he's going to lose 50 pounds, but he hasn't done anything to set himself up for success, right? So he's got the same habits, he's got the same surroundings, the same job, the same wife. Everything's the same, except he wants to lose a bunch of weight, and he hasn't done anything to do anything about it so far. What do you think is going to happen to Chris? Right? He's going to start off, and it's going to be running, and maybe it lasts for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 3 months even. But think about it, right? It's running on sheer willpower. I mean, and that is a finite supply. That's not infinite at all. So you will run out of willpower at some point, and that's when you just say, fuck it, and you start, you end up at McDonald's at 11:30 at night. Because that's it, right? You're done, right? Because he had no systems in place. He had nothing set up. He had no support system. It's just him with a resolution, and that's it. And it doesn't work. So there's something that I read about called cultural procrastination. Okay, and that's another name given to resolutions. Okay, and that says that basically people aren't ready to change their habits, particularly bad habits, which results in a high rate of failure. That's why so many people fail to stick to resolutions, right? Because, changing a habit has to have some kind of action. It has to have some kind of plan, and it has to have some kind of specific piece to it, right? I'm a believer, and again, I don't set a lot of goals. I'm just not one of those people. A lot of people really, really believe in them. Some people think they're a joke, right? Everyone has their own opinion on them. I don't set a lot of goals personally. I have a few here and there, but I'm not like a prolific goal setter. But a lot of people will, really believe in the S.M.A.R.T method. And I've taught it. I've used it in the past, and it does work. And so a resolution is basically a goal, and a goal needs to be specific. So when you go into a new year and say, "Man, I'm so fucking tired of being fat," right? I'm gonna lose a bunch of weight. I'm gonna clean up my eating. And I'm gonna just take care of my health, right? That's just so broad, right? But very few people, I don't have the stats on it, but very few people actually write down their goals. Whether you type it, write it down, whatever. That's huge, right? Just that alone. So that's your first step, is write down something specific, and don't go crazy as far as trying to change 50 things at once. Try to change one thing at a time. It's very difficult to change even one habit, because most people, when they come into the new year and it's health related, it's either exercise more or diet, or clean up their diet, right? Those are the two big things. So focus on one of them. You can do both, of course, but if you pick one and you really focus on it, you're going to have a better chance of success, right? So let's just take eating, right? We're not going to try to revamp your entire diet from eating, Taco Bell and pork chops and mashed potatoes and gravy, rolls, and, all the typical American foods. If you've been eating that all through the year, and then January 1st, you're like, well, that's it. All that's gone. I'm going to be eating fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and nuts and seeds. That's it, right? That's not going to work, right? Can it work? Yes. And again, this comes down to sheer willpower, and most people, myself included, don't have the willpower to just fight through that every day. Why? Because it's fucking miserable, right? You're absolutely miserable when you're doing that, and it totally sucks when you do that. So take one small thing, right? You drink a 6-pack of Diet Dr. Pepper every day, and I'm not saying that's terrible, but or whatever it is, a couple of Red Bulls, and I've had a really bad Red Bull addiction in the past, and I struggle with Monster Energy's Zeros now. But take one small thing. I'm going to stop drinking soda, right? That's it. My resolution for the next what I call 30 days, 60 days, whatever it is, I'm going to stop drinking soda. I'm going to drink water and tea instead. I mean, start there. Not, I'm going to stop drinking soda. I'm going to stop drinking beer. I'm going to stop eating fast food, fried food. I'm only going to eat this, select few things, and again, you're going to drive yourself crazy and, probably, I'm not saying you are going to fail, but probably going to fail. I mean, it just doesn't work out. So set up a specific goal. So the SMART goal, it stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-oriented. So Google it. Obviously there's a million articles on SMART goal setting. And it does make sense. A couple things I want to tell you about, these are suggestions I'm going to give you to kind of help you along with your goal setting. Okay, and your resolutions. We'll call it a resolution. Whatever it is, you want to lose weight, right? That's too broad, right? I want to lose 20 pounds by the end of February. So in 8 weeks, I'm 20 pounds lighter. Okay, that's your goal. Okay, number one, you have to take action every day. I don't care what it is. You don't have to be killing it in the gym. You don't have to spend hours in the gym. You don't have to revamp your entire lifestyle, your entire diet. One small step, take it every single day, but do something every day that gets you closer to that, whatever it is. But if you keep doing the same shit over and over, right, you're always going to have the same thing. So you have to push yourself a little bit. And you have to be willing to get uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable. It sucks. Especially, food, man, the creating it's physical. It's a physical response. We are addicted chemically to sugar and a lot of the other bullshit they put in our foods. So we physically feel like we need it, but it's an emotional thing just as much too. We're emotionally attached to certain foods, to certain food groups, at certain times of the day. Watching a movie, we have to have popcorn. It's 11 o'clock at night. You have to have a bowl of pretzels or chips and salsa. That's all psychological. I've been through it multiple times. You have to get uncomfortable and realize that, yeah, it's going to suck if you can't have, what you want. So for me, I love having an orange-flavored Monster Zero as soon as I wake up. I brush my teeth, spend a few minutes, make my bed, doing whatever. And then I don't feel like I can start my day without this Monster Zero, right? Is that something that I need? Of course not, right? It's completely emotional, right? But I've gone a few days where I didn't have them for whatever reason. Yeah, and it sucked. It was lousy for me. So, a goal, or we'll call it a resolution for me, would be, stop drinking that one thing, right? I'm not going to necessarily say I'm going to give up everything that I know I shouldn't be eating, right? I'm going to give up one thing, okay? And you have to recognize that, they're going to be setbacks, they're going to be failures, right? Regardless of how small your goal is, how small your resolution is, right? You're still going to have setbacks. You're going to have days where you're like, fuck, I just totally blew it. Or you're going to give in and you're going to stop, like me. I used to, I remember, this is probably, I'm going to say 7 years ago, maybe I guess 7 years ago, I was working at my desk job. I remember I was working in finance, and I was drinking, and I was miserable, by the way. I was drinking 2 Red Bulls a day. Among other bad habits, I was drinking a bunch of Dr. Peppers. I was going out at like 1 o'clock for a Snickers bar and my second Red Bull of the day. My diet was horrible. So I decided that, and this was in the time where I, one of the times anyway that I decided to kind of get my health back in order. And so I gave up Red Bull cold turkey. And man, I fucking felt miserable, like the flu. Like, you've heard of the carb flu, where if you start eating just very few carbs, you feel like you have the flu, like you just feel horrible. I had this headache that I couldn't get rid of. No amount of Advil would work. It was just this pounding headache, and it was just my body detoxing from the sugar, the caffeine, and whatever else they put in that thing. So I recognized that was a short-term thing. It lasted, I think, over a week. It was sucked. But I didn't quit. I didn't stop and say, you know what, I'm just going to give in. And so that's just part of the process, right? You're gonna screw up, and and at one point, I've had them since. So at one point, I said, "Fuck it," and I went back and I drank one. And so you just have to recognize that that's going to happen. And there's something that a lot of people overlook too, and it's the importance of rewarding yourself as you start making progress, as you start making positive changes. And again, we're talking about resolutions right now, but rewarding yourself, like give yourself something to look forward to. When you start hitting small milestones, don't wait until you've lost 40 pounds to do something, right? That's a far away goal, right? Make it smaller. Say the first 8 pounds, right? Or the first notch on your belt that you're down, you get to reward yourself. And that doesn't mean go out and eat 10 pizzas and drink yourself into oblivion, right? I'm talking about a reward that will make sense for you, right? So think about those things too. So a couple of things I want to talk about, right? One of the things that I've seen, and I've seen it with myself, I've seen it with clients, is when someone sets a resolution or a goal, they don't actually believe they can do it, right? So if you go into a new year with a resolution of losing 50 pounds, but you've failed a dozen times on multiple diets, you've yo-yo dieted for years, it's never worked, you're like, I'm destined to be a fat ass, right? But you're like, I'm going to just go for it this year, right? But your mind, you don't believe that it's going to work, right? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, it's not going to work because you don't actually believe it's going to work. What do you think is going to happen? It's not going to happen. So you have to put yourself in a position to win. You have to make your goal realistic for you, right? And you can shoot for the stars. I mean, people say that too, dream big, and that's all well and good. But if you don't believe it, like if I said I'm going to make $1 million next year in this business, right? That's not realistic for me, right? I'm not anywhere near that. So I don't believe I can do it. I mean, I can make more money than I did last year, but $1 million, I don't believe that's going to happen. If I put it down as my goal, and some people do, like they just go crazy with that kind of stuff, but it's not going to work. It doesn't make sense because you don't believe it. So make sure it's something that's in your mind at least attainable, right? This guy, Christopher, struggling with his weight, eating 50, 60% of his calories from carbohydrates, pastas and breads and all that garbage, right? Come January 1st, he decides to do keto. He's not eating any carbohydrates. Is that realistic for him, right? Does he think that's going to work? I mean, think about that for a minute, right? A lot of people do that. Like, well, fucking man, the keto's hot. I'm going to, my friend John just lost a bunch of weight doing it. No, you have to do your research, think about it, realize what works for you. Don't just throw it out there, right? Think about this stuff because there's a reason why most people fail. Because they don't think about it. They don't have a plan. They don't have support. And that's another big one, right? We talked about that a few minutes ago. If you have the same job, the same coworkers, the same spouse, same set of friends, and they're not building you up, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying some people aren't the support system that you need. If you don't change any of that or find other ones, how the hell are you going to succeed? That's huge, right? I've been coaching for a very long time, 22 years now. I've seen it time and time again, especially in the last 5 years as I've been running the Fit Dad Nation full time. The power of tribe or accountability groups, being around a group of like-minded, supportive people is absolutely a difference maker, 100%, right? And I've talked about this many times. I don't do much individual coaching anymore, almost none, because it's there's so much more success happening in groups. Guys, obviously I coach dads, all dads. And so like for the example, my Inner Circle program, we have 50 dads in there, and it's far more active than any of the free groups because number one, obviously they're investing in themselves, so they have something on the line. But these guys are committed, absolutely, and so they're helping each other, right? It's so positive. That's the thing. It's not shit talking. It's not posting memes, not calling each other pussies. It's not that at all. It's building each other up, and that's what you need. So, I'm not saying you need to join the inner circle, but you need to find your tribe. You need to find at least one person that cares enough about you and your success to help you. Just need that, because without it, I'm telling you right now, you're going to struggle. Okay, so another thing. So, I probably even should have mentioned this first because it's so important, but a lot of people have a what when it comes to their resolution, right? What they want to do. I want to quit smoking. I want to lose weight. I want to get fit. I want to get out of debt. But not enough people, and this is absolutely, absolutely critical. Your what doesn't matter until you find your why, right? You'll figure out the how and the what and all that other stuff. Figure out your why. Why is this important to you? I mean, think about that. So when I made my big change, and I've talked about this before, but I had come out of a marriage. I was separated. I was away from my daughters. They were 7 and 4 at the time. I was living in an apartment, and I was seeing them only on the weekends. I was used to seeing them every day, and that was extremely difficult to be away from them during the week. I couldn't see them, and it was killing me. And so, I turned to food. I turned to junk food, really, and fast food. I just abused the living shit out of my body. Just ate whatever, as much as I could, just to kind of comfort the pain, right? So when I was sad, I would go to McDonald's. I mean, that's just what I did, and I felt better in the short term with just all that sugar and fat and grease. That's what did it for me. I didn't turn to booze or anything else like that. I wasn't exercising, but I was just eating, and that's how I was self-medicating. And so, when I finally had a conversation with an old friend, that was kind of the catalyst for me, where she said, you're not the dad. You're not the dad your kids need you to be, because you're a fucking mess. Like you're so negative. You have no energy. Like your just whole outlook sucks, and you're not being the best dad you can be. They need a happier dad. And that was one of the really the main things that caused me to say, you know what? You're absolutely right. Like that's not. So that was my why. I used that why to go out that night after I saw this friend of mine, and I went for a run. I've told the story before, but I went for a very short run. I was huffing and puffing and gassed. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I said, I have to do this. And the next day I did it again, and the next, and the next, and the next. I did it every single day until I started going back to the gym slowly started seeing progress, phased out all the junk food, the fast food, started eating better. And within a few months, I was back into the gym full time. I was eating a paleo diet, pretty strict. And within like 6 months, my body was like, way different. I had lost a whole bunch of fat. Like I had muscles again. I felt awesome. My energy was like out of control. It was awesome. I had so much energy. And so that was the driver for me. If I hadn't had that conversation, honestly, I don't know what would have happened. Like how long I could have been like that. Like I was just kind of stuck in this really dark hole. And so for you, you have to find your why. Like whatever your goal is, I don't care. It doesn't have to be fitness related, but if, whatever it is, you have to have an emotionally charged reason for wanting it, or it's not going to work. Or you can't just throw something on a piece of paper and say, this is what I want, if you don't want it. But people do it all the time. Sounds good. Maybe somebody else wants it from you. Your spouse wants, your wife wants you to lose some weight or whatever. You have to seriously want it. And again, I don't care if it's fitness related. I'm not here to change your mind about whether or not you want to be fit or not. But think about it. I mean, like take some time, and you may not have the opportunity to have a conversation with somebody like me that cared enough to say, dude, get your shit together and get it together now for your kids, right? You may not have that person in your life. So you're going to have to do it yourself, right? Start reading some books, start thinking about it, go on some, hikes always helped me, walking alone, thinking about that kind of stuff. Like, what do you really want out of life? What do you want to change? Who do you want to be? Those are very, very important questions, and you have to answer those. So I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is let's look at your why. Pick one thing that you want to do and figure out that why. And I think that's where you really start. So, anyway, I don't want to like come across like I'm just bashing the shit out of resolutions. I mean, a resolution is just really just a fancy goal. I mean, that's just all it is. I don't like them because they're associated with a specific date, an arbitrary date, January 1st. I don't see the point in waiting, which, we started a challenge a couple days ago. This is just the start of December here, called Die Hard December, which I just talked about earlier. But so why am I'm not going to make these guys wait, the guys in my group. We're not going to wait until January. We're going to do something in January as well, but we're going to get you ready. And I told them, listen, guys, we're gonna kick some ass in 2020, but I want you to be prepared for it. And so we're gonna bust our ass this month. We're gonna clean up our eating. We're gonna get some habits in place. We're gonna get consistent with exercise. And then when we roll into a little bit of a stricter program come January and start making some real changes, you're gonna be prepared for it, right? I'm not gonna have you sitting on your ass all month and then come January 1st say, guys, all right, get off your ass. It's time to go. No, it's not gonna work. So anyway, those are my thoughts, guys. You may or may not agree with some of what I said. That's okay. These are just my personal experiences, my thoughts. Hopefully this helps, guys. And I do hope that you guys have a phenomenal 2020. I hope you're already starting. It's again, it's the beginning of December here, so you still have a full month. If you're not, just seriously, just start something. Get walking, hiking, jogging, start stretching, doing some mobility. Right, just do some light work. If you're not doing anything, if you're doing something, do a little bit more. Okay, just in my opinion, you don't need to wait. You don't need to wait till January 1st to make a life change. It's you're not getting any younger. You're not going to get this time back. Just go for it. Just go for it right now. I'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, if you want more information, check out the Fit Dad Basecamp group on Facebook. And don't forget to stop by fitdadnation.com. Until next time, keep kicking ass and taking the next step. You can do this, Dad.